Parshas Bereishis, Tov Ayin Zayin. Before we begin our new year of Shiurim, I must once again give thanks to everybody that makes this Shiur happen. What started off many years ago now as maybe a good joke, what started off as just something in jest of saying the Dvar Torah on a Thursday night has now turned into almost 350 shiurim, and tonight we begin our eighth year of shiurim. So of course we have to search more content of the Nesivos Shalom to try to find something new, a little more challenging for myself, but that's what it's all about, a little harder work each year. But I do want to thank everybody, from the people who host us, from Bikur Cholim of Lakewood, to the people who attend this year, so many of our good friends that are here tonight, to the people that watch the shiur, the people that comment on the shiur, and everything is very much appreciated, and in Mirz Hashem, we should have the strength to continue this for many, many more years. So what's Bereishis? Bereishis is a beginning. And now that we also had a new beginning of our eighth year, Bereishis bara Elokim. In the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Es Hashamayim v'es haaretz. Hashem created the Shamayim and the Haaretz. And Rashi says, famous Rashi, that Rashi talks about, many Mefarshim speak about, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Lo hoya tzorich lahaschil es haTorah ela mehachodesh hazeh lachem. Listen, let's face it, the Torah is about teaching us the mitzvahs. The Torah is about the commandments. The Torah should have begun with hachodesh hazeh lachem, the first mitzvah of the Torah, the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh, shehi mitzvah rishona shenitztavu Yisrael. That is how the Torah should have begun. Uma tam posach bebereishis. Why then did we begin the Torah with Bereishis? Mishum, the pasuk in Tehillim, koyach masav higid nachas goyim. Essentially, what Rashi is telling us that the Torah should have begun with the mitzvah of hachodesh hazeh lachem, mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. Why didn't we begin with that mitzvah? To tell us like this, Bereishis bara Elokim. At the beginning, we need to know that there was nothing here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. And it's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu how He apportions the world. And one day, and we see that it's mamish that way today too, the Umas Ha'olam, the nations of the world, are going to say to Klal Yisrael that we took Eretz Yisrael away from them. They were there, and now we moved into Eretz Yisrael, and we took Eretz Yisrael away from them. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu began the Torah with Bereishis bara Elokim, and that tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and it's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu how He divides and apportions the world. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants now that Klal Yisrael should have Eretz Yisrael, Hashem created the world, and He can give it to anyone that He desires. And that is why the Torah begins with Bereishis. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to take Eretz Yisrael from the Goyim, from the Umas Ha'olam, and give it to us. And that's the lesson. That is why we begin with Bereishis. Nesivos Shalom asks a question on this Rashi. So now we explained and we understand why Bereishis comes first. But ask the Nesivos Shalom, what about everything else that comes between Parshas Bereishis and Parshas Boy, the mitzvah of hachodesh hazeh lachem? I understand why exactly Bereishis, the first thing, the beginning, we need that lesson to teach us that Hashem created the world and He owns the world, kaviyachol. But what about everything else? Noach, Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, and on, the Shvatim, everything through the whole Chumash Bereishis, beginning, Golus Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu. What does all of that have to do with this lesson that we learned about Bereishis? Why does all of that also come before the first mitzvah of the Torah? So the Nesivos Shalom explains with the beautiful Yesod from Reb Chaim Vital. Now the Nesivos Shalom says, we know that if you look at the whole Torah, we know that midos, the way people act, is extremely, extremely important. And it's extremely vital to every human being. But, yet, you take a look, midos are not written in the Torah. The Torah doesn't tell us about all the midos explicitly of chesed, of gevur, all these type of things. The Torah does not talk about how a person should behave. I mean, of course, the Torah gives us laws on how to do things, and also interpersonal laws too, but midos per se are not part of the Tayyag mitzvahs. The reason being, says Reb Chaim Vital, the reason is that you can't have that the Torah tells you that you have to have good midos. You know why? Because good midos come even before the Torah. Beautiful lesson, and Nesivos Shalom brings from Reb Chaim Vital, that the midos are a requisite for a person to have even before beginning to keep any part of the Torah. And without midos, without a person being about midos, you do not have the Torah. So the Tayyag mitzvahs don't teach us midos, because midos comes before. Midos are not counted as one of the Tayyag mitzvahs, because they are the essential foundation of the world. They are the foundation of a person. They are the foundation of every human being before he learns Torah. And having bad midos can be worse, says the Nesivos Shalom, than not being mekayim the mitzvahs, because you're missing your foundation. There's nothing to build on. There's nothing to reckon with. And the Torah is only given to a person, says the Nesivos Shalom, only given to a person that has first worked on their midos. Amazing, amazing lesson, and something astounding. And you know, we really need to know, says the Nesivos Shalom, that of course the only way to gauge what is actually good and accepted is of course if it's mentioned in the Torah. How would we learn midos otherwise? You know, today you have people, you have many different movements and many different things, feel good kind of organizations and whatever it is. You have people, and really what we might mistake to be midos is only because they have a warped sense of what people should be doing and how they act. But how does a Yid decide what is considered good midos and what midos are? We decide the same way we do everything else. We look into the Torah, and midos the way we act is directly learned from all the things that are written in the Torah. So says the Nesivos Shalom, that is the inyan of all the parshiyos between Bereishis and Parshas Boy, through the whole Chumash Bereishis and the beginning of Seder Shemais. And you know why that is? Because they teach us the Yesodos of Avodas Hashem. They're not just nice, heartwarming quote stories when we learn about Avraham Avinu, and we're going to once again start to learn, and very, very shortly we're going to start to learn about the Avos. And even next week from Noach, we're going to, and I always say, you know, when it comes to this week of Parshas Bereishis, you have to really be sitting in your seat and be strapped in. You know why? Because Parshas Bereishis alone is somewhere between a quarter and a third of the entire history of the world. So it's an abbreviated week. We just finished Sukkot 2 days ago. But if you miss Parshas Bereishis, you don't concentrate on the lessons learned in Parshas Bereishis, you missed about a third of our history and a third of what we have to learn. So this whole Chumash Shemais Bereishis, beginning this week, teach us the Yesodos of Avodas Hashem. They teach us, Bereishis is called Sefer HaYashar. It teaches us the way to be straight in Avodas Hashem, the way to be straight with our midas, the way to be straight and being an upstanding Jew, to be an upstanding member of society as we know it, as we directly learn it from the Torah. We use in all the lessons that we're going to learn in the next few weeks to prepare ourselves for Torah and mitzvahs. For someone who wants to learn Torah, for someone who wants to do mitzvahs, We need the entire Seder Bereishis and the beginning of Seder Shemois to turn us into good people before we learn Torah, because that's the only way we could learn Torah. That comes first. And once we do that, then we could start talking about HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Then we could start talking about the mitzvahs of the Torah. And we see that the first thing that the Torah brings to our attention is in our parsha. And when we talk about midos, we're discussing the three most dangerous midos that a person has to avoid. And we learned it in Pirkei Avos, and we've spoken about it in the past. And right away, this week, Parshas Bereishis starts to teach us the lesson of midos. And what is that? That we must avoid at all costs. Kina, Taiva, and Kavod. And you know where that lesson is? Right here in Parshas Bereishis. The Parsha of Cain and Hevel. The Parsha teaches us that Cain had Kina. Cain was jealous of his brother Hevel. And you know what Kina brought Cain to? Kina brought Cain to the point where, because he was jealous of his brother, he came to Ritzicha. He came to murder his own brother. A lesson to us how far we have to stay away from Kina if we want to be able to learn Torah. If we want to be Torah-dik people, we have to stay away from the midah of Kina. And not only that, it teaches us the next thing. It teaches us taiva. It teaches us the danger of taivas. Where do we see that from? We see in our parsha how far you could fall from in taiva from the lessons of the Dor HaMabul. The Dor HaMabul were people who were steeped in taiva. The Torah is teaching us that. Before you learn Torah, before I can teach you about a mitzvah, you need to be about midas. No kina and no taiva. And the last one is kavod. Kavod we see from the Dor HaFlaga. The binyan of Kavod, the Dor HaFlaga, each person needed to be on top. They needed to feel like they were controlling the world. Kavod, it's all about me and about me and about me. The Torah teaches us, no. You want to live the life of a Torah Jew. You want to live the life of Torah, Sefer HaYashar. You need to learn the lessons of Bereishis. No kina, no taiva, and no kavod, and that begins right here in our parsha. And the Torah from here on in, for the next couple of months, teaches us about midas and how vital they are, especially if you want to be a person that learns Torah. You want to be a person that keeps the mitzvahs. First, you have to be about midas. Don't think that you could be book smart, that you could have 25,000 svarim piled in your entire living room, your whole table piled with svarim. But if you don't have midos, all of it doesn't begin. It melts away. It has nowhere to rest. The Nesivos Shalom uses a lashon of midos. They are the merkava for Torah. They are what the Torah rides on. And that is the lesson, that is the theme that we need to know. We learn in the Rashi of Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, why did we start with Bereishis? From that Rashi, we learn our lessons of you need to first learn and teach yourself about midos. Bereishis, the first thing, and this week is about beginnings. So if you weren't this way before, you have an opportunity this year now. Tafshin Zayin, we're getting started and we're going to concentrate more and try to learn the lessons of Parshas Bereishis. We're going to learn the lessons of Chumash Bereishis. We're going to take each week and try to inculcate ourselves and our friends and our family and everyone around us that we're going to become different people and we're going to be Zaycha to learn about midos. And then, of course, what follows is the Torah has a place to be. Let's take this lesson of Parshas Bereishis, Chumash Bereishis. Let's have a good beginning. Let's begin. Let's get into our 8th year of Shiurim. Let's grow from the lessons we're going to learn from the Nesivos Shalom this year. Everybody should have a good Shabbos. Thank you very much for listening.